Hello and welcome to the SEO Friday Show on Wednesday with Barry Schwartz and Josh Bachynski. Hi, I'm Josh.
I'm Barry.
And that's the people who are debating. So the SEO Friday Show on Wednesday. I don't know why it's called that. It's kind of a debate discuss show where we talk about SEO and Google and all the wild and wacky things going on there. And there's a disclaimer for you fine folks that we will often argue sarcastically and facetiously. That is to say, we will play devil's advocate, and not everything we say can be taken as if it is our position. We might argue positions we disagree with entirely. Although I always, for the most part, say things that I believe in entirely, and Barry is always wrong. So that's basically how the show goes, if you haven't tuned in before. So, hi Barry, how are you?
All right. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. You were at SMX East recently.
The best SEO show out there.
The best SEO, not for the least of which is because it's in New York, which is close to your.
New York is the center of the world, so yeah.
Yes, New York is the center of the world. Yes, so we've heard. Yes. Anyway, so today, unless Barry really wants to talk about something else, I want to talk about Penguin. The Penguinx Penguin. How do you spell penguin? I want to talk about that because it's the eve of Penguin, and there's kind of a hush, a quiet, if you will, that's fallen across the SEO community.
Well, I don't like talking about Penguin. I'd rather talk about other P's. Maybe PageRank, maybe Google Poland, maybe Panda.
Poland. All right, well, fine. We'll get those out of the way first. So, Google Poland.
Devices.
Okay, so Google Poland, this is what I have to say about that. Who cares? It's Poland. Next, PageRank. The PageRank toolbar is they're not going to report the PageRank anymore for the toolbar, and my answer to that is whoop-de-doo. Who cares? It was never a big deal to begin with. Okay, so getting back to Penguin. Back to the Penguin. Here, I have a poem for you. I have a poem. Are you ready? Listen. Twas the night before Penguin, and no one was stirring, not even a mouse. And if Google found your links, you would lose your rankings and die. Die! D-E-I. Dead. So, what do you think of my poem?
You spell die again, please?
Oh, you and your details. Details. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about Penguin. For those of you who don't know, Penguin 3.0 is coming out very soon, and it really is like there's this hush in the industry. Everyone's kind of holding their breath, waiting for this big Penguin to come out. It's been a year, over a year actually, since the last Penguin came out, Penguin 2.1, way back October 4th, 2013. And so all the people who were hit by Penguin have conceivably been waiting this long for Penguin to once again be released so they can escape the Penguin algorithm and maybe possibly get some kind of semblance of rankings back. And I want to argue that Penguin is unethical. It's wrong. Penguin is wrong for many reasons. Not the least of which is that it's vague. It's a vague penalty that they don't even announce, unless you bug them, unless Barry goes and bugs them, they may not even say it was released. Barry has to constantly fight with them and make them tell him, and he goes on vacation, and that's when they release it.
No, right? They'll tell you guys when it's released. Even if I'm not around and I'm bugging them, they will tell you.
Now, this is not how you sell yourself, Barry. Barry, you have to make yourself indispensable. You have to make us believe that if you weren't around, we would have no SEO news whatsoever.
That's true. At the same time, they would still announce it. Nobody would know about it because they'll announce it somewhere on Google Plus where nobody is anyway.
Right. Yeah, I've noticed that. Pierre Farr will announce Panda. No one knows for weeks. And what? There's something called Google Plus? What is this thing? Yeah. So anyway, I think Penguin is more or less unethical. I mean, completely. It's totally vague. Some people think they were hit by it when they were not. Their rankings start hurting. They go, it must be Penguin because Penguin gets the most airtime. And some people are actually hit by it and don't know about it. They release it far too intermittently. The information on how to remove it is not very well confirmed. Sure, Google says you can use the disavow tool, but whenever I ask any SEO to prove that this will work, they all suddenly have nothing to say. Whenever I ask an SEO to show me evidence that disavowing will save you for Penguin, suddenly they'll all disappear, like cockroaches into the shadows. Yes, I just did equate them with cockroaches. I'm sure that'll make me more friends in the SEO industry. And finally, it can be negative SEO exploited. I mean, there's no way Google can tell whether you made bad spammy links and someone else made bad spammy links. Google claims that they can tell in subtle ways, quote unquote, from John Mueller, but I don't practically understand how that could possibly be. Do you have a comment on that, Barry?
I disagree. I think Google could read our minds very, very clearly. They know what we're thinking. So I really do believe, since they can read our minds, that they could actually tell what links were, unnatural in that sense.
Now, Barry, are you being facetious or sarcastic?
I'm being 100% honest.
Are you fulfilling the disclaimer? Okay, but here's the thing that really annoys me. I mean, I've argued this before, and many people have argued this before. Here's the thing that really gets my goat, is that if you ever go to the Google forums, Google, as you've mentioned to me, Google employees will kind of give subtle hints to people. They won't necessarily say they were hit by Penguin or Panda, but they might make a link. Your site has these issues, and put a link to the Penguin post on the Webmaster Central blog, or the Panda post on the Webmaster Central blog. And even worse than this, I happen to know, now Barry, I know you don't know, but I happen to know there's various people who have contacts at Google, they have Google insiders, that all they have to do is email or call or message on Google+, and these people will tell them, yes, you have a Penguin penalty, or no, you don't. I think this is
coming from a guy who had a private meeting with Matt Cutts.
Yes, but I've clearly burned that bridge. I've been there and done that, and I am no longer on his Kwanzaa card list, if you will. I'm not going to be going to his house for Festivus. There will be no feats of strength and no airing of grievances. Well, actually, there was plenty of airing of grievances. I will continue to air my grievances. Every day is Festivus Day, as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, I think this is probably the thing that is the most unethical and the most immoral. Clearly, yes, there are hundreds of algorithms, as they tell us. And yeah, it would be useless for them to give us information that you were hit by Google ranking algorithm 849828838B. Yes, that wouldn't help. But there are the big ones we know about, like Panda and Penguin and payday loans and the page layout algorithm and the bad merchant algorithm, ones that they have announced and have given a name to, or someone has given a name to, you've given a name to. You named Pigeon, which was a local release. That wasn't their name. You named it, and just it stuck.
Sorry.
That's unethical too. I find it highly unethical that you have to be in the cool club. You have to be in the cool club and go into the forums. You have to be in the cool club and have a Google friend or a Google insider. And sure, we higher level SEOs, people who have been in the industry for a long time, do have these Google insiders, but at the very least I use it to help my clients. And you use it as much as you can to help inform people on your blog. You don't hide the information, so we share the information. But Google hides the information when they could just put it in Webmaster Tools that you're hit by Panda or you're hit by Penguin, the big ones. You don't have to tell us every little algorithm. Or say that you have quality issues or you have link issues, not in the manual sense, but algorithmically, and people can go and deal with that. And if they want to make it so that black hats, as if black hats care, and this is how black hats operate, if they want to make it that black hats can't be like, I deleted this link and suddenly the Penguin penalty was unreported from Webmaster Tools, therefore I know this link had something to do with Penguin, they could just make it 3 or 4 weeks later, right? They can just delay that timeline so that eventually you can tell that the algorithm is not affecting your site anymore. Barry, what say you on this topic?
A few things. One, anybody, you don't have to be cool. You could be a big loser and go to the Google forums, post your question.
Judging by the evidence of people on that forum.
Hey, you could post, and if you get lucky, you could be one of the 1% of people that Google responds to specifically with a link saying this is your issue. And yeah, it's very clear to anybody who knows anything about SEO when they link to a Panda post that you have a Panda penalty or a Penguin. It's rare for them to use names. You don't have to be in the cool club to get that advice. Two, I've been pushing Google for a really, really long time to add even before they had the manual action viewer, to add something called the automatic action viewer, or whatever you want to call it, so people know how if they're being hit by an algorithm. I don't know if they will do it. I'm still pushing, but I push for the manual action viewer. I push for a lot of things that they've done over the years. We've all pushed as a community. It's clearly out there that people want it, and I have a feeling one day they will release it. So the more we complain about it, the more they'll do. So I think it's just a complicated thing. I think if you look at anything, I don't know if you're a programmer, but any programmer that writes algorithms, there's lots of different things. Usually when you write an algorithm, all the algorithms are looking at a specific aspect and rating it based off of that. So how are they able to say, all right, build a view for people to say, all right, I'm impacted X% by this, Y% by that. They're going to have to build this kind of graph type of thing, as I imagined it, and say, all right, your main issue is Panda, you're hit maybe in the red level, Penguin, you're maybe in the yellow level. They have to do something that's understandable. Clearly,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that level of detailed analysis from a programmer such as yourself. However, I have to politely, in that case, disagree. All I have to say is that Panda is an issue for this site, or Penguin is an issue for this site. I mean, as far as I know, both of those algorithms are either more or less on or off on the page that they're on. This page has a Panda flag or a Penguin flag, or it doesn't. It might have Panda Lite, right? John Mueller's kind of talked about Panda Lite, and there's like a light version of Panda and a heavier version of Panda. That's fine. You don't have to get into the nitty-gritty detail of how much each algorithm is affecting the site, only whether or not that algorithm is affecting the site. Because people have already noticed they're not ranking where they want to rank, or not ranking where they think they should rank, and they're going to do something about it. And so now they have a much better idea of what to go try and tackle, as opposed to the general vague suggestion, make your website better, and this is somehow supposed to help anybody.
Whatever. From a programmer's perspective, it is really, really complicated for them to actually tell somebody you've been hit by Penguin, Panda, Ad Heavy. These are big algorithms, but there's so many other algorithms that you could be hit by. So I assume they could do something on some level, like if you were really hit by Panda, like the times they go into the forums and say, all right, here's a link to Panda, this is what's your issue. They should come up with an algorithm or a metric to saying, when you're impacted by an algorithm by X%, or whatever that level is, that weight, then maybe they can say, this is probably your main issue, focus on this. And maybe there's a threshold they could use to do that, and I don't know if they're working on it. I've been pushing them to do so. A lot of people like you and other people have been pushing them to do so, so hopefully they will. I don't think it's going to be by the end of the year like a Penguin refresh, but it'll probably be sooner than that, or later than that.
No. Yeah, I mean, this is very interesting what you're saying. Largely what you're saying is that there's a slippery slope in that if you have to tell them about X% of Y algorithm, then you kind of have to tell them about everything. Like you're going to bother telling them that what if Panda and Penguin is not their issue? As some people are sometimes told, they're ranking not what they thought they should be, and even if they saw a demotion on a Panda date, so you can make the logical assumption, well, it was probably Panda because I got a demotion on a reported Panda date. But then your Google Insider tells you, well, no, you weren't hit by Panda, you weren't hit by Penguin. It's some other algorithm 849828B that they haven't bothered to announce, and they don't even announce their algorithms anymore, even the various little sundry ones. And how are you to know? How are you to know what algorithm 849828B, how it operates? If it operates on links or so page-based?
It's pretty funny because I've been covering the search industry for, I think, over 12 years now. And initially, back like 12 years ago, Google would tell us nothing. It was like a big black box. We used to name the updates based off the month, so like May Day or whatever it might be. And then Google started to slowly share more information with us. And we were all upset Google never tells us anything. Now Google started telling us stuff, and they're not telling us enough. Now they're telling us really a lot of stuff. And it's like, all right, so now you're telling us that HTTPS is a ranking factor. How much of a ranking factor is? All right, now we know it affects more on the page speed level. All right, so are you looking at mismatch content errors? Are you looking at the length, the strength of the certificate? Like it doesn't end. Like the more they give us, the more they have to keep giving us because we keep getting more upset. So I don't know if there's a good going from their perspective. There's no real good solution. The more they give us, the more we get upset.
Wait a minute, Barry. Wait a minute. This is I'm going to make an analogous argument. This is like saying at one time in the United States, certain landowners held slaves. And that's the way it was. And now there's only slight racism. So it's much better. I mean, that's analogously your argument, right? It's no. Wrong is wrong, and they should be not doing these things, period. Just because they've gotten slightly better with us doesn't mean we should stop complaining.
Their algorithm, that's how search works. They build algorithms. You might not like the algorithms, but their search quality is based off of algorithms. It's not like...
Here's my point. I like the algorithms just fine for the most part. Mostly what I dislike is the misinformation and the totalitarian culture of fear, the fear-mongering, the public relations.
The more information they give us...
That's what I'm arguing against.
The more information they give us, the more information you want. Like even when I build software.
No, the more draconian they are, the more information they need to give us to remain ethical.
Even when I build software, people are asking me very detailed stuff, and truthfully, sometimes I don't want to tell them, or sometimes I just don't know the answer. I have to go back to an engineer in my company and say, all right, what's the reason behind this? I don't want to bother them asking them. They're working on other projects. I have to all right, give me 20 minutes of your time to explain to me why the algorithm works this way. And I'm like, I don't want to waste their time. And I can totally understand why a person like John Mueller, who is not an engineer at Google, I don't think he touches the code. He might. I could be wrong.
No, I think he's just a trends analyst, I think.
Right. But there are some trends analysts that actually touch code, too. I can't see how he would walk into, like, Brian White's office and say, all right, this is what the webmasters want to know. Give me an hour of your time to explain to me how this works so I can communicate to them. Sometimes they do that, but at the same time, they're trying to work on other things, like how to save the world through contact lenses and stuff. So,
wow, that's tough for them. You know, it's such a anchor on your time to have to be moral and try to help people. Jeez, I feel so sorry for them.
But you can't argue. From where it was 12 years ago to where it is today, they are being a lot more transparent. You cannot deny that.
Oh, you should know by now I can argue just about anything.
Argue it. You can't. There's no way. They didn't tell us anything back then. The only person who was doing this type of transparency was Matt Cutts, and he had to do it on his free time.
Yeah, but of course, at the same time, there wasn't much to tell. It was like, make links, have the keyword on your page, specificity and backlinks. That was it. that was the algorithm.
There was a lot of things going on.
And everybody knew. They did tell us. They told us through their patents, and they told us through their published academic papers. And so we all went, okay, we made links, help them make the search engine monopoly that they currently have, and now that they have a monopoly, now they have to help us.
Yeah, I think in 2002, when they started to stop doing those monthly Google dances, that's when things changed drastically with their algorithm, and they kept putting in more and more signals, and they kept giving us more and more details. So, yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I see both sides, and I think they've come a long way, and I think they will continue to do so based on our feedback that we're giving them on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, geez, that was the most whitewashed answer I've ever heard in my life.
I honestly believe that. I mean, obviously, I could joke around about, them not up to, if they really want to remove PageRank, drop the toolbar information completely, just zero it all out. It's ridiculous. I agree with you. It's ridiculous. They didn't launch a new Penguin update. I think that's just crazy. I don't care what excuses you have. For a Google Poland guy to write a blog post saying, SEOs in Poland are scamming their clients and they're being unethical because they're not using the guidelines, and to have a keyword-rich anchor text to a personal blog of a Googler, that's completely there's plenty of examples like that. And then for Google to go ahead and hint at upcoming things with obscure statements, that's the way they do things. I mean, Apple's the same way. They're very, very quiet about stuff.
What kind of obscure statements are you talking about?
You read Search Engine Land. I wrote about it on this morning about how Google is coming out with we're supposedly coming out and working on a mobile user experience signal, where they're looking at the different signals around how a mobile site is built and if it's actually user-friendly and a good user experience for users. And if it is, it might either give a boost or a demotion. If it's not, I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but they are looking at that and warning webmasters way in advance, focus on your mobile user experience to make sure it's a good user experience. Otherwise, we might go ahead and take some either positive or negative action on the site.
Yeah, they mentioned that quite a bit. I mean, they definitely do. I think there is an insider club there, though. They definitely do at the conferences, definitely in the Hangouts, definitely in the forum. They will get their stories straight, and anytime Pierre Farr and John Mueller and Gary Ildias, whatever his name is, also, and Miley Oye, and Matt Cutts back in the day, every time they say the exact same thing, make sure you're not blocking JS and CSS, or make sure your mobile experience doesn't have so many 301s, or make sure your mobile experience is fast. You know very well that they're coming out with an algorithm to deal with that.
Yeah, and that's nice of them to actually give us a head off as opposed to just releasing it like the Florida algorithm.
But that's
Florida
like saying,
killed
that's like saying
everybody.
they punched you in the face, but they said sorry after, so therefore it's okay.
Oh, they sang sorry before.
Oh, great. Sorry. What are they, Canadian? Sorry, sir. I'm about to punch you in the face.
Basically, it's like when America right now is bombing against ISIS. They're like, hey, we are going to bomb you. We're bombing these specific locations. You probably want to go ahead and move away from those locations for a while. We're going to send some big bombs there. And that's what Google's doing. I don't know if there's an ethical way of doing it or not, but don't send your bombs or not, but they're bombing, and they're doing it the most ethical way they possibly can. And then I get into a whole other topic, which I probably should avoid.
No, Barry, I have to disagree. I mean, this is not good enough. It's good, but not good enough. Google, we have to start thinking of Google not as a company, but Google. We have to think of Google as a government. Google is a government, and it's a totalitarian government. You know what do you know what the current definition of a government is? Is essentially a bunch of economic entities that interact. That's what a government is, a bunch of economic entities that interact. That's what it is. That's what a polity is. And that's exactly what Google is. We're a bunch of economic entities that interact virtually online, and Google is the government, one we didn't vote for, and one we have absolutely no control over. And if Google was a government, they wouldn't be like the United States or Canada or the nice little democracies of the West. They'd be much more like Russia or China or these kinds of governments that abuse certain classes as if they're second-class citizens, aka webmasters who are not following their rules, and control the information, completely privatize the information, and control all the economic interactions between, and try and pull more economic interactions to themselves as opposed to everybody else. What do you have to say about that, Barry?
We go on for hours like this. I think our show's over, so I think it might be a good time to end on that point.
Say it by the bell.
Google is turning
by the bell. Very well. Well then, because Barry is afraid of my argument and wants to run away, this has been the SEO Friday Show on Wednesday with eminent SEO reporter Barry Schwartz and outspoken idiot Josh Bachynski. And tune in every Wednesday where we will debate issues like this and other things. And once again, I will show Barry how he is, oh so wrong. Charming, but wrong.
Thank you.
And Barry, do you have any final words?
No, it's always fun. It's fun to debate this type of stuff. So, looking forward to next week. And just so you guys know, I will be, if penguin or panda or some type of animal is released by Google, I will be offline Thursday and Friday. So please don't send me 1,000 emails, tweets, and comments on my blog telling me I forgot to report about it. Trust me, I would never forget to report about an algorithm update.
Don't worry, Barry. I already have my email spam program and X-Rumor set to make comments, and everything's set, ready to splooge you with spam on Thursday and Friday, when invariably Google will release Penguin. So you heard it here first. So thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, who are watching. Well, we have more visitors, or viewers than we normally do. And once again, this has been the SEO Friday Show on Wednesday with Josh Bachynski and Barry Schwartz. Tune in next week where we will cover aliens. Are they real or are they fake? No, we won't talk about that. Just kidding. Well, Matt Cutts, is he real or is he fake? Is he coming back or is he not? I don't know. Anyway. Okay, say bye, Barry.
Bye.
Okay, bye.